Friends, if you are in the Northern Hemisphere, autumn is one of the coziest times of year. Pumpkin spice lattes and books. Here are 12 of my favorite books for autumn, ranging from spooky and the fantastical to nonfiction. The first and foremost is Wuthering Heights. I am in my second reread ever of this book, and it is set in the Scottish moors, and everything from page 1 is haunted, it's spooky, there are ghosts, there are remaining ghosts of people that have passed. They have dysfunctional families, everything that makes autumn crazy. You can tell in this book that the vitamin D in the people is low. Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier is just spooky and spectacular in the same vein as Wuthering Heights. But you would think the main character's name is Rebecca, but it really isn't. Our main character is Mrs. De Winter. She is never mentioned by her first name in the entire book. And the only name that we know of is Rebecca, who is a late wife of her husband. And this woman, Rebecca, may or may not be haunting the mansion that the new Mrs. De Winter is living in. Third on my list is Writers and Lovers by Lily King. When it's autumn, I really want to read books that are about art and the struggle of living a creative life, and this is exactly what this book is about. Casey Peabody has just lost her mother, and she's a struggling writer. She has not given up the art of writing, despite her friends having given up. She is a waitress near Harvard. Autumn somehow for me is a season of change, and Casey in this novel is going through that change, trying to parse between the creative life and money and what it means to be a writer. And it's just the season of change, a Bildungsroman roman novel for the older generation. She's almost 30 or 30 plus in this novel, I think, and that's what makes it spectacular and so autumny for me. The Secret History by my beloved Donna Tartt. The Secret History is at once spooky, spectacular, and dark. This is dark academia at its finest. Donna Tartt in this novel builds up this world. In this university, the students are elite. They are in this secret group of students, invite only, that study the classics. Immediately you know in the novel that someone has died. You don't know who has died and why they have been killed. And throughout the entire novel, through hundreds and hundreds of pages, you find out why, and it's just delicious autumn. It's like diving into an apple pie, honestly. It is so good, so dark, and so creepy. I love it. Once There Were Wolves by Charlotte McConaughey. Again, this book is set in Scotland. No surprise there. The wolves are dying and Inti wants to know why. A farmer is found dead in the Scottish Highlands, and everyone thinks that the wolves did it, and Inti believes that the wolves did not do it. And now she's on this chase against time to prove that the wolves are innocent. I mean, just look at the cover. It is just so beautiful, fall type, and just the trees without the leaves. It's just so fall. 84 Charing Cross Road is also set partially in London and in the US. Helen Hemp is a writer in New York City, and she's always mailing letters to a bookstore in London. She begins a correspondence with them and eventually a big friendship throughout decades. It's all about the mutual love that Helen and the bookseller have about books. The bookseller is always giving his book suggestions, and they have this beautiful friendship that just develops over writing letters. This is an epistolary novel, and it's tiny and it's cute, and it's just short snippets and letters, and the friendship is so real, and at the end it's heartbreaking, and it packs a punch for a tiny novel. Rosemary's Baby! Rosemary's Baby by Ira Levin is just spooky. In a New York City apartment, Rosemary and her husband move in. It's super cheap, and they are just happy that they don't have to pay a lot of rent, and they get a fantastic place, except there's a lot of creepy people and a lot of creepy things that keep on happening, and Rosemary and her husband are trying to get pregnant. The name Rosemary's Baby should tell you something, that something goes really creepy about the baby towards the end of the book, and since I don't like babies that much, sometimes I think babies can be really scary. I know, they're not, but because I think they're really scary, I think this book was a really fun read, and something creepy happens with the baby, and I think it's really worth the creepy read. Dracula by Bram Stoker. This is not actually an epistolary novel, but it's written in the form of journal entries, and it's so intimate. The horror that is Dracula becomes so real, and if you've only watched it in movies and TV shows or have heard about it in our pop culture, it's really worth the read because of the atmospheric setting of Transylvania and the way that Bram Stoker sets the scenes with different opinions through the journal writing and the letter writing that happens from different perspectives. The horror is really tangible when it's written in your diary, right? Imagine reading someone's diary about their actual horror events. That's what it feels like. This Finnish epic, the Kalevala, is over 2,000 years old, and we're really lucky to have a copy of it still surviving because it's an oral tradition that's dying out slowly. Think of something that's set in the Finnish Laplands, a northern part of the country that's remote from the rest of the world. Imagine that. Now imagine crazy petty gods like you've read in the Iliad, the Odyssey, and in Greek and Roman literature. This is epic fantasy at its best, and Kalevala was actually an inspiration for the Lord of the Rings. J.R. Tolkien, he loved the Kalevala and he drew from this. Similarly to the Iliad or the Odyssey, this is written in verse, but that doesn't mean it's hard to read. And again, this is an oral epic that has been written down, so it feels very much like someone is chanting you this poem around a fire, and I love that. Next, I have The House on the Cerulean Sea. This book has taken TikTok and social media by storm for the last couple of years, but it really still deserves the praise. Linus lives in the UK, and he's sent up north to a tiny island to take care of magical children. He needs to check on them and make sure that they're being appropriately taken care of and they're not a threat to the country. It's just so heartwarming. Again, it has that feeling of a tale being told around a fire. Maybe something that your parents would tell you when trying to put you to sleep. It has that warm, cozy feelings. There are no bad vibes in this book at all. It's just beautiful. One of the things I adore so much about fall is how quiet it becomes. That's why Quiet by Susan Cain is just wonderful. This is nonfiction, and it's about how being quiet, how being an introvert is not a bad thing. Actually, it can be empowering, even though today in modern society, we don't think that there are any benefits to being quiet, to being introverted, to thinking before speaking. And as an introvert, this book was extremely empowering, and it made me feel validated. And I feel like this book can validate other people. And you know, in summer we become really loud. We have to hang out with friends. We have to meet people. We have gatherings, barbecues. And I feel like now is the season that we start tapering off into our quiet, cozy abodes. And I feel like this book will empower you to do so and to accept your inner introvert. Book number 12 is The Book of Cold Cases by Simone St. James. Wow, was this book good. It's about, in present day, there's Shay Collins. She works as a receptionist at a medical firm, and she sees Beth Greer. Beth Greer, many decades ago, was accused of murder, never went to jail, and Shay Collins has a true crime website, and she wants to know if she can get an interview with Beth Greer. Beth Greer says yes, and she goes to this woman's house to interview her. No one has gone into the house for decades. Nobody except for Beth, obviously. But when she gets to that house, when Shay arrives there, it is definitely haunted. Things are moving without anyone being there. Things are flapping in the wind. Odd things are happening. She's seeing odd things. She's hearing things. I love how the true crime aspect overlaps with something so supernatural. The Paris Apartment by Lucy Foley is so good. Jess arrives from London to Paris at her brother's apartment, and her brother Ben is missing. She's in this creepy building, and everyone in this building is refusing to talk to her about what happened to her brother, and she is digging for clues. She's looking at every aspect of the building. Things become dangerous. All of her neighbors are suspects, and it's so much fun to sleuth around and see who could have done it. Number 14 on this list is The Picture of Dorian Gray. Dorian is a super handsome guy who was initially very innocent. His friend Basil, or as they like to say, Basil Howard. Basil is a painter and he paints this picture of Dorian, and Dorian looks so beautiful in this image that Dorian says, I wish I could be this handsome forever, and may this picture take my aging away from me, as in may the picture age and may I not age. And that's exactly what happened. And as Dorian stops aging, he starts committing these grotesque crimes, and whatever crimes he commits, they appear on the face of him in the painting. And he hides away the painting, and it becomes creepier and creepier. The painting keeps on changing as he commits crimes, and it's just insane to watch. And one of the things I love the most about this book is a character named Harry. Harry is this lord who's full of himself and full of vice. And the way that he leads Dorian more and more into evil is just, it's hilarious. You're gonna love it. 15th and last on my list is Devil in the White City by Erik Larson. It's set around a set of serial killings that happened in 1893 during Chicago's World's Fair. The way that Larson describes the murders and puts this serial killer to life is just insane. Like, I love it thoroughly. It thoroughly creeps me out because this is true and it happened, and no one could trace him down until the very end of the book. And the fact that someone could get away with so many murders during something as spectacular as the World Fair just gets me riled up and gets me spookied all out. I love it. I hope you guys enjoy these 15 titles that remind me of autumn. I hope they remind you of autumn as well. Please subscribe below and leave comments. Thank you.